My name is Sherry Harper-McCombs. I am a costume designer for theater and also for dance. But today, since there is no theater and no dance that is happening in our world at this moment, I am talking to you from here in my kitchen in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, where we're going to make a fabric mask, a 2-layer fabric mask for going outside and to protect others, mostly, from the virus. This is 2 layers of a firm cotton. Woven cotton is not the best. Firm cotton, like a quilting cotton, is best for this. I have modified this pattern from a pattern that Deaconess Health Services out of, I believe, Indiana put online. I have been making a lot of them, and so I've done some sort of streamlined modifications. This is one that's finished, but I'm going to show you dimensions on this are that you want to cut are 9 by 6. So you want it to be 9 inches across and 6 inches this way. You can do that by cutting 2 separate 9 by 6 inch pieces. You can do that by cutting 18 inches by 6 inches that you then fold in half with right sides together. Or you can cut it 9 inches by 12 inches that you then fold in half that direction. Okay, kind of depends on what your fabric situation is and how you want to orient that. What we use for ties on this, you can use anything. You could use ribbons if you have ribbons. You could use shoelaces if you had shoelaces. I am using something called twill tape. This is sort of a wider 1/2 inch twill tape. This is sort of a narrower twill tape, more in the 3/8 inch range. I'm going to demo on the black one, so hopefully you can see it more easily. You want to put the right sides of the fabric together. It's probably hard for you to see in the video, but this has like a little cute little fish print on the outside. I'm going to put those 2 halves together, and then we're going to do what is called bag lining. We're going to stitch these 2 together, leaving a little opening that we're going to flip. It's handy to have some straight pins. You don't have to have a whole lot of straight pins. I will pin mine at the corners. Okay. And I'm going to leave a little opening on the short edge of this. So I'm going to leave an opening. You need about 2 inches to turn it. So I'm going to start here. You want to stitch it at 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, which generally for most people is either the very edge of your presser foot for 1/4 of an inch or that little hash mark 1 over from your presser foot if you want to do 3/8. You're going to do a straight stitch for this, forward and back. Okay. Come up to your corner, leave your needle in, turn the corner. Hopefully with this lighter color thread on here, you can see I left about a 2 inch opening, okay, that we're going to turn that through. Before you turn it, you want to clip the corners. You see where it comes up square? If you clip that corner, it'll be just a little sharper. Don't get too close because you don't want to clip into your stitching. But clip it at a diagonal and get rid of that extra fabric up there. Just like that. You can use, those of you who already sew, you know that an iron is your best friend when you're sewing, but I'm sewing at home currently where I have 5 cats and 3 dogs. And because of that, having an iron is a real safety hazard. I don't want an emergency vet visit. I also don't want an emergency visit from the fire department. So I don't use an iron, and you can totally do this process without using an iron. So I flipped it through that little opening that I made. Okay. I'm going to push my corners out like that. Okay. And you've got sort of your rectangle. Okay. If your scissors that you're using have this sort of rounded tip, you can use your scissors and push that corner out a little more. If your scissors are some of those sharp, pointy scissors, don't do this because you'll punch a hole and you don't want a hole. There you go. All right. So your next step that you want to do, you see how we've shaped this with these little pleats or tucks down the side of the mask? That's going to be your next step. Okay. This is a place where your pins are going to be really useful. Again, you don't need a lot of pins. I generally use about 6 pins, okay, for this whole project. So making this your top, you want to go down with your pleats. And I make them approximately a 1/2 inch, 1/2 to 3/8. And I start down probably almost close to 1 inch down on the mask. Okay, take a little tuck there. And then I do 1 down in the middle. And then this last one is always a little smaller. But you can see on the finished mask that it actually makes kind of a nice little curve there at the bottom of the mask, okay? So you do that on one side. Then on the other side, you want to make sure that your pleats are going the same direction that you had them on that first side. Now, what you're going to do now is you're going to top stitch around the edge at about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of your mask. Okay, so I'm going to pop this in here, right up at the corner. Sometimes my machine gets a little grumpy going over the pleats because while I'm doing this top stitching, one thing to think about, I know a lot of people, home sewing isn't a thing that a lot of folks are doing nowadays, but a lot of people do have an old sewing machine sitting around somewhere, but they think, oh no, it won't work, it's old, it's whatever, belonged to my mother, belonged to my grandmother. I would recommend, if you have an older sewing machine around the house somewhere, pull it out, give it a try. These older machines, especially ones that were built before the 1980s, they're actually really sturdy, good machines. In my professional life, in my studio, I use sort of a higher quality Bernina, but at home, I use an old Kenmore. This is an old Kenmore from the 1970s that my father got at a yard sale. So, it's a workhorse. So you can see where I've stitched all around the edges of that, and my pleats are all held in place. Okay, so that's how that goes around the face. All right. So the last thing you want to do is you want to stitch your ties onto it. You also want to finish the ends of whatever you're using as a tie. Again, if you have a shoelace, it has that little egglet on the end of it, so you don't have to worry about that. This twill tape is pretty firmly woven, so I tend to just tie a good solid knot in there so that it doesn't start fraying in the wash. This is a softer twill tape, and so the end on it, I folded over and did a little zigzag on to finish that off. So you just want to make sure that the end of it doesn't fray away when you wash it, because you're going to want to wash it pretty regularly. You also want to wash it before you wear it. So we're going to use these two because they're already finished and ready to go. You want to fold it in half, find your center point. These also, I think I didn't say the dimensions on these. These are 34 inches long is what you want the ties for your mask to be. It's 34 inches long. Fold it in half, find your center. Find roughly your center point on the edge of your mask, and then lay your twill tape down on your mask. And again, this is a place where you can pin it on. One other thing to say while I'm doing this about the fabric for these, this is the best fabric is a woven cotton. They're saying that polyester, if it can be a poly cotton as long as it is at least 50% cotton. They're saying poly is not so good for it because apparently the virus has a longer lifespan on it than it does on a cotton. And they're also saying that a knit is not good, that the woven is better. So I've got these pinned onto the sides. This is the point where you can use just a straight stitch to put this on, just like you did around the edges. I tend to move my machine to a zigzag stitch. If you have a machine that does a zigzag, it just tends to make a more solid hold on the tie. And we're going to do it twice down each side. So there was one time. Okay, so 2 lines of stitching on that side. And then 2 lines of stitching on that side. And then you can take your pins out. You can trim away all of your threads. Even threads dangling off of things. So there is our finished mask. Okay. That's it. Okay. The ties make it nice because it's adjustable and can fit a variety of faces. Again, the woven cotton seems to be best. I've read that like 180 should be the thread count, but that's the thread count of most quilting cottons, which is what most of us have available to us. I hope this is helpful to you. It's a pretty straightforward process and is a good idea to have a couple so that you can have one that can be in the wash and then one that is fresh. Make sure you wash them before you wear them and then keep them washed regularly. Okay? Take care. I hope this is helpful to you and everybody stay safe and healthy. All right. Thanks.